Item 10F, receive, report, and approve implementation of Phase 1 of the Fire Consolidation Plan.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. Before I get started, I would like to introduce Deputy Chief Mark Lattis from Central County Fire. He spent an inordinate amount of time and effort in putting this plan together for all the agencies. And if I get in trouble, I think I might have to refer to him on a couple of tough questions. Good evening. Tonight I'm here to present an informational report and requesting your approval to proceed with the implementation of Phase 1 of the Fire Consolidation Plan. As you are all aware, several reports have been made to the City Council regarding fire consolidation and results of consultants' recommendations. All of these reports have indicated there is a financial savings opportunities for the participating agencies. The intent of the presentation tonight is to bring you up to the current status of the process as directed by our subcommittee members, Mayor Wayne and Councilperson Medina. On July 11, 2011, the subcommittee members from the Central County Fire Board, Millbrae, and San Bruno met and received the proposed Phase 1 implementation plan. This plan includes an administrative merger and the consolidation of Hillside's fire stations in Millbrae and Burlingame. The result of this meeting was agreement to present this plan to the full City Council of each agency for their approval. The plan consists of the definition of the success of the program will be evidence of accomplishing the financial targets and objectives, plan for the JPA agreements, governance model maintains the local control and equality of decision making, the financial agreement ensuring financial safety for the agencies, operational success, which includes response times and representation for all the agencies, and a plan for the joint labor contract. Projected annual savings for the agencies is on the board. This is the administrative. It was a simple quarter, 25% split of the projected $380,000 savings. I will identify that these savings are only accrued when the full administrative implementation is complete. Millbrae Burlingame, the Hillsborough savings represents the station combination of the two stations and the savings represented there. The temporary fire station, some of the dimensions that we considered were the coverage, community impact, and the cost. This is a map of the proposed sites, the alternative sites we identified as possible sites. The recommended site is Site 1. We had looked at Site 4. It was determined that this was not a good location due to traffic considerations. Site number 3 was the matrix report. That was computer generated, which simply looked at the middle. There's no property available there, but it was recognized as just a computer model. Some of the dimensions that we looked at for the sites were obviously response area, community impact, cost, and the distance and time. At the top number, the red number represents mileage. The bottom number below that is time to the distance from each of the stations. So you can see that Site 1 still represents a very desirable station. The cost of the proposed temporary station will be shared only by the two agencies sharing that station, which will be the City of Burlingame, or Central Fire, and Millbrae. The Phase 1 administrative merge and pilot study, as one of the concerns, I think, was the representation and the governance of the model. The Operational Oversight Committee will consist of the 4 city managers, which will review performance and finances, analyze data, and make recommendations, report to the City Council, and meet regularly. Again, this remains that each fire department maintains jurisdiction over its own agency. The timeline for the phase one is we're projecting that October 1st, the administrative merge would occur. In port, that would be joint staff meetings, the sharing of personnel to staff those stations. The temporary fire stations, we project that the savings we'll get from the overtime savings will assist both Central and Millbrae in paying for the cost of the station, temporary station. March 1st is a data analysis where we would collect the data, come back, return to council with the information, either providing success or questions, and then draft the phase 2 plan. May 2013, a decision would be made to go with phase 2, the full consolidation model, discontinue the pilot, or continue further on the phase 1. Full phase 2 is a full merge scenario, and this would be the Central County Fire Authority. Each council would have representatives, probably 2 from each council as board members, and 1 city manager would rotate as an administrative officer. This would meet every 4 months, report back to councils, review performance and finances, and analyze data and make recommendations. The impacts of the phase 1 plan on San Bruno was anticipated to be minimal in terms of level of service. The station relocation plan in the other 2 cities will be a pilot program, again, to confirm response times into the 2 districts and evaluate impacts on outside agencies. Fire Station 52 may see a slight increase in calls of service and move-ups as part of the county's coverage plan. The plan will include deploying a flex engine that will be staffed weekdays from 8 to 5 to lessen those impacts. Should the plan not come to full fruition, I see no impact on the current shared services relationship between Millbrae and San Bruno. Labor groups from each of the respective agencies have shown support for the proposed plan, and following the implementation of the administrative merger and station consolidation, the city and departments will jointly work to address the outstanding issues and items for phase 2 of the plan and return to the city council with those recommendations. That concludes my report, but I believe the city manager also has some comments.
I wanted to supplement what I think is a very thorough presentation made by the chief, simply to acknowledge primarily for the benefit of the 3 city council members who have not participated in the ongoing subcommittee discussions that have been held over the last approximately 9 months. So we've met a few times with the other agencies to discuss a variety of issues. What may appear to you as a somewhat shorthand presentation that was identified in the PowerPoint in the chief's comments tonight really represents a narrowing or a focusing of the various issues that have been under discussion and of concern among the elected officials in the 4 cities and the 3 fire agencies. So I think we've got it down to a manageable number of topic areas that really need to be addressed, many of them in the phase 1 trial program, and the rest of them over the next several months during the trial program, so that we could return to you approximately 15 months from now with issues of governance and agreement language having been at least relatively finalized, so that you have a completed package in order to consider a full consolidation. I would like to also mention, because I would feel remiss if I did not call to your attention, in addition to our strong recommendation that this council agree to continue to pursue full consolidation, I'd like to provide one small caveat, and that is that the implementation plan as it is currently being presented to you and to the other agencies does not, let me say it in a positive way, it intends continued work and intent towards full consolidation. That is the anticipated intent and expectation of each of the 4 partner agencies. However, the trial program can go forward independently, and station consolidation and administrative merger could represent either a final state or simply a trial program that ends up not actually going further to a full consolidation. Absolute worst case scenario might represent a situation where consolidation of the station turns out to be successful. However, administrative merger or full consolidation turns out not to be as anticipated successful and or not desired by the parties, in which case the city of San Bruno then would have another decision to make down the road. At this point, we are again strongly recommending that the city council join your colleagues on the other 3 city councils in endorsing that we move forward with continued work with an actual tangible work product this time, that being the trial program to consolidate the station and at least attempt to make a final partnership in operating 1 station where there are now 2. It is anticipated that, I believe that the city of Burlingame has already received and acted on this item. The city of Millbrae is, with a positive vote of 4-1 in the city of Burlingame. I thought it was 41, but Millbrae is considering the item tonight, and Central County, I'm sorry, Hillsborough will consider the item in August. Was I wrong?
You're always right.
Oh, well, not always. The gentleman in the back of the room is the
He would be
keeper of all
definitely.
knowledge. In any case, it is anticipated that a conclusion as to whether the implementation plan phase 1 goes forward will be reached very quickly by all 4 of the agencies. So we look forward to being able, as I said, to do something tangible and hopefully successful in service to our mutual communities.
Good, thank you. Any questions of staff?
Through the chair.
Michael?
So my first question was related to the on the definition of success. You said evidence of accomplishing financial targets, and the financial targets that you presented, you said, were related to the final product. And I'm wondering if there are estimates of interim savings that we're going to be judging against during this 15-month period, or how are we going to judge this? How do we know we're meeting our financial targets?
Well, hopefully, as we go through the process, Councilman Salazar, we will bring back those figures. Most of those are through attrition and position changes that we could bring back as those occur and update the councils on a quarterly basis, whatever is appropriate.
Okay. So one of my other questions is just related to the overall length of the trial period, which to me seems a little bit drawn out, and it was my understanding that the reason we were bringing the consultants in early on was so that we could sort of expedite this, bring in the experts who have done this before, take all the roadblocks out, and then just move ahead with this. And so now we're still looking at 15 months of trial period, and I'm wondering what's going to be going on in those 15 months that's going to draw that out.
Well, I think initially it'll take us some time to set up the recommended site with your approval. It is a vacant lot, essentially, that has to be graded and put a pad on. We need to get temporary trailers in for the station, tents and so forth, utilities that will have to go in before we can staff that station. So that's one issue, and I think we gave it a lengthy time to bring back data on response times to make sure that we try to cover all the bases as far as incidents and response zones and so forth. And if there are issues that we can redo districts even to the point where we can neutralize some of unnecessary move-ups or whatever it may be. And I think that was, it was The length of time I would prefer it would be shorter, but I think everybody to gather that data and be confident in that data, it will probably take some time.
Okay. So when could we then, oh, okay, so it says here temporary fire station is July of 2012, so roughly a year before we start collecting data.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. And no, I think that was it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Through the
Okay.
chair.
Irene?
Thank you. On your, and maybe I just don't understand it, on your administrative merge and pilot study, phase 1, could you go through the flow chart? I'm not sure how this is going to work, or how, is this how it's going to work, or is this a proposal that you're going to try out through this time period, or?
The
walk me
phase
through it.
1 is actually normal operations. I think the change where you'll see the oversight committee, it will be consist of the 4 city managers who will go through the data review, analysis, report back to council on data provisions, and so essentially each city retains its own jurisdiction over the department.
Okay, who's this mega fire chief down on the bottom, though? Is that?
I don't know.
Is that?
It might be right. It might be made up.
Because it's, you know, it looks, everyone retains theirs, or is this
Well,
you, or is this?
The administrative merger phase 1 plan does include the elimination of 1 fire chief position over the course of the phase 1 plan.
Over the 15 months?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you still have this fire chief down here, so.
There's only 1 there.
That's only left. Okay. Okay, gotcha.
If I could just add, there is no intent of layoff in order to accomplish the phase 1 administrative merger. Any position loss is expected to occur via attrition over probably an extended period of time. No decision has been made about who would fill the fire chief position or precisely when winnowing down, if you will, from 2 to 1 might occur. And at this point, that diagram was intended really to demonstrate, as the chief indicated, that going back to a comment I made earlier, that there were a number of issues that have been the subject of previous discussion at the subcommittee level. There was a desire to be clear about what the jurisdictional authorities might be and whether individual city councils might retain some degree of authority over their fire department's operation during the course of the phase 1 program, and the answer, as opposed to some sort of consolidated body becoming responsible for policy level decision making. And the answer to that is that would not occur during the phase 1 implementation. The intent really, as shown on this diagram, was to maintain the integrity of each of the policy body jurisdictions. That was really the intent here, not to beg the question you asked, because we don't have a clear and specific answer for exactly when or how we would reach the 1 chief scenario.
Okay. Thank you. That's my only question.
Mr.
The rest
Ibarra.
of it sounds good.
Getting back to the selection of a fire station, I can't imagine that all of our current fire stations went through such extensive studies. I'm just curious, new communities that build new fire stations now, do they go through an extensive study as to timing, location, you know, economics, land availability, things, and then end up with the cheapest site, or is it truly based on, you know, the time and the response times and distance?
You know, we really do consider all those things, Councilman Ibarra, is location, availability, cost, obviously, and we kind of use ISO, Insurance Service Office's response time criteria as far as assembling crews on structure fires and so forth and so on. So if you look up and down the peninsula, most of the stations are probably 1.5 miles to 2 miles apart up and down the peninsula, and it's on the peninsula. The 101 corridor is where you find the majority of the calls, but you also have the access up and down the peninsula. When you get into the hills, you don't have that thoroughfares north-south. You have east-west thoroughfares, so it's a little bit different considering, but you're very correct, and all those components go into selecting station sites.
So it brings me to, my follow-up question is that I'm sure we have residents on the west side of our community that they're very pleased with the location of Station 52.
Correct.
Now that we're going to be part of a entire family now, are there real concerns up there in Millbrae-Burlingame with a station either moving further away from where they're used to having a station?
I think there probably will be concerns anytime in the fire service. Two of the toughest things are to build a fire station and to remove a fire station, and I think that holds true. But I think in our consideration, when we relocate a station, for instance, from 38 to the new location, those immediate residents, you extend response times, but on the other side, you get improved in response times to another neighborhood district or something like that. So it's kind of a balancing act.
Thank you.
Mr. Medina?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few things. As was indicated by staff, the mayor and I, along with the chief and the city manager, have been sitting through meetings, and they've even sat through probably double what we've sat through in trying to come up with various plans and opportunities in which to move this forward. Also, from my colleagues, we already do receive a savings with Millbrae, with our agreement with the chief and that chief. So we have a savings additionally, in addition to what would be gained through this admin service, shared service. The length of the project was brought up, which is a valid question because it seems like this has been a long discussion. But when you try to get 4 communities together and they are all representing their constituency, sometimes you need to kind of go at a pace that will allow all communities to be, shall we say, as comfortable as possible in bringing this forward back. And so this was the first step that would allow this opportunity to see if it is a good venture for the future. On the governance, the only thing I didn't see on the slideshow, which I'd mentioned in the July 11th meeting, was about having the subcommittee members still meet, maybe if it was once or twice. But I thought that was important so that we still have a voice at the table, because obviously we answer to constituents, and this will serve our community. And I know also a thing that was brought up at the July 11th meeting, you had quite a few of the personnel that were there. For the most part, not everybody's going to be happy with everything, but labor seemed to be working collectively together to try to walk down this path and do the best job possible to make it work. But I know it brings up about having fair representation, not only as far as governance of council and managers, but as far as also the administration, admin personnel at each of the 4 cities, so that it's fair and there's equal representation across the board. But I can tell you that the staff has worked quite hard. The city managers and the chiefs have worked quite long. And to reiterate what the city manager said, this is through attrition because they've gauged about retirements and projecting out to the future. And this would not eliminate any positions, but only through attrition. And also, Vice Mayor, I've learned that it's not as fast and easy to assemble a fire station and meet it up to code and do what they need to do to bring this together. So even though with your skill set, I think you would be interested to see how the project evolves and the length it takes. So unless the mayor wants to say anything, I feel that staff has done their job, and I think I'm comfortable to support this for us going forward on phase 1.
Yeah, just briefly, I was in all of these meetings also, but not near as many as our city manager. In fact, all the city managers, they should be congratulated for working very, very hard to put this together, because it was a tough road. A lot of little roadblocks along the way, and I think there are some more, but it just makes sense. What doesn't make sense in this whole county, in fact, is to have 20 little cities with 20 little chiefs and 20 fire departments. It doesn't make sense at all when, in fact, San Bruno, probably more than any other city, realized what mutual aid and everybody getting together really shows. So it just makes sense going forward. And besides that, we cannot, in fact, afford 20 fire stations or fire departments in this county. And so, you know, going forward, it just makes sense. And as Mr. Medina said, there's some issues, there are labor issues going forward. We hope to work all of those out, but I think this is the right move for all of us. Burlingame and Hillsborough realized that a few years ago. San Bruno shares a chief with Millbrae. We've received savings there, and so I think this is good. Would someone like to take some action?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve and implement Phase 1 of the fire consolidation plan.
Second.
Motion is second on the floor. On the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
5 then.